It's very important when investing to be aware of the fact that you want to invest in a company where the management are honest and can be trusted with your money. Now, Warren Buffett's got a beautiful comment that he always says about it. He says, ideally, you want management who are trustworthy, competent, and hardworking. And if they aren't trustworthy, you really hope they're not competent and hardworking, because they'll steal you blind. Now, that's a very important principle for our members at Teaminvest. Our philosophy is we really only want to invest in a company that's listed on a stock exchange if we are confident that the management are trustworthy with our money. And there are a number of elements involved in that. I mean, the first thing you want to make sure is how have they dealt as stewards of the money of investors in the past? Have they made foolish acquisitions? Have they gone off on glory trips overseas? Have they been empire building? Or have they husbanded the company money well and provided reasonable returns to the shareholders in the form of dividends? So that's step number one. Step number two is to look at something that most investors initially find daunting, and that's look at the remuneration report. Now, the remuneration reports contain a lot of boilerplate, detailed regulatory stuff, which makes it fairly daunting and hard to read. But the bottom line really is you're looking for three things. Are they being paid in a way in which it encourages them to act in the best interests of the shareholders? So what we call alignment. Are they being paid a reasonable quantum? And that's fairly obvious. How much money are they being paid for the job that they're doing? And the third thing is, when you actually read the remuneration report, is it reasonably understandable? The chances are, if it's not understandable, the company is deliberately making it complex in order for you to not understand it. That's not a good sign. Those are some of the things that we look at. Obviously as well, the other thing is, do management have skin in the game? Now, when you're buying into a company where the founder is still there, the chances are the founder has a lot of his personal wealth or her personal wealth tied up in the company. That's a very good sign. They're going to treat that money as if it were their own. When you're looking at a company where the chief executive and the board members have very few shares and perhaps were hired as hired gun CEOs and board members, the problem you face is that although the law says they should be looking after the best interests of shareholders, human nature really means they're probably looking after their own best interests. So we get very uncomfortable in Teaminvest when we look at a company and discover that the chief executive and the board members own hardly any shares in the company. If they got shares in the company, they were given them free rather than genuinely paying for them, because those people are going to be far more interested in their own paychecks than they are in the returns that are created from shares. So those are just a few points about trustworthiness, competence, and hard-workingness and management. Now, the question always becomes, how do I tell? You know, how can I look at a company and know whether the people are all of those things? Well, fortunately, in this modern day and age, a fair amount of trustworthiness you can find out from just Googling the person. You know, if you happen to Google somebody and you discover they've been involved in 2 or 3 ventures in the past that failed, that's not a good sign for investing in that business. On the other hand, if their background when you Google them all looks pretty good, that's probably a fairly good sign. And as I say, the second thing is, do they have skin in the game, money in the company? And that will tell you at least that their interests should coincide. So that's an important aspect when investing that most people don't look at. And if you watch your television and you look at what's reported on, or you read the Fin Review, you rarely find information on the quality of the management. Yet in every industry, there'll be companies that are doing really well and others that are doing badly. They're in the same industry. The difference between them is the management.